Oh look, here they come again, crying like clockwork.
Islamophobia.
Islamophobia,
Islamophobic rhetoric.
Islamophobia.
Every single time someone dares to criticize the Quran, the Hadith, or Muhammad's life, the same pathetic sob story starts. Islamophobia! Oh, sweetie, how adorable. Hand me the world's smallest violin. These are the same clowns who spend every waking hour trashing the Bible, calling Jesus a confused prophet, claiming the New Testament is corrupted fairy tales, rewriting God as a bumbling human who messed everything up. They have zero issue burning Christianity to the ground. But the moment you open their book and read it out loud, suddenly you're a bigot, a racist, and literally Hitler. That's not phobia. That's hypocrisy on steroids with ex-victim points. Let's talk about the real phobia. Under Islam, fear isn't a feeling. It's official policy, backed by law and soaked in blood. You leave the faith?
Faith is under fire
Apostasy.
in nearly 30 countries. That's the grim reality laid out in more than 100 pages of the latest annual report from the U.S. Commission on International Religious Freedom. In those areas, people of all faiths face imprisonment and death for their beliefs.
You see, folks, religious freedom is not a Western value. It is a human right. And when it is violated anywhere, it should concern freedom-loving people everywhere.
Nowhere is that violation more lethal than Nigeria. The commission reveals more than 80% of the world's religion-based murders happened there in 2024.
Let us acknowledge that there are too many killings in Nigeria.
For Rebecca Dali, a former prisoner of Boko Haram, the tragedy is personal as she documented thousands of murders committed by the terror group last year. Since escaping, she's started the Center for Caring, Empowering, and Peace Initiatives, serving more than 2 million Nigerians caught in extremist violence.
But all Nigerian Christians, Muslims, and traditional worshippers are among those who are killed, and that violent will never end violent. All Nigerians, be they Christian or Muslim, want to live together in peace.
Globally, 16 countries are designated in the report as countries of particular concern, with 12 others on a special watch list. More than 2,300 people are currently imprisoned for their faith.
When the government demands Sinocization in practice, it means removing crosses and replacing them with portraits of Xi Jinping, replacing hymns with Revolutionary Party songs, rewriting sermons to align with socialist core values, and installing facial recognition cameras in sanctuaries.
National security analyst Grace Drexel, whose father is imprisoned in China, testified the threat is evolving because believers are being targeted after they flee their countries to safety. Other leaders point to the unknown of dead, especially in countries like Iran and Syria, where sectarian violence after the Assad regime fell left an estimated 1,300 dead.
And what has been interesting in Syria, the persecution has not necessarily been at the hand of the government, but rather it's been the weak rule of law, as the government's looking to establish authority and has been unable to do so.
Ryan Brown with Open Doors US specifically tracks Christian persecution, providing emergency aid and trauma relief in some 70 countries. He calls on the church to remain vigilant in prayer.
I can't tell you how many folks I've been that, as they've been in prison, have told me that, that they've taken such comfort in knowing that they're not forgotten, that there's a body of believers around the globe that are consistently lifting them up in prayer.
Brody Carter, CBN News.
In Sharia countries, you can be jailed, beaten, or executed for the crime of thinking. That's not Islamophobia, that's a death sentence for using your brain. You criticize Muhammad or the Quran, blasphemy laws kick in.
Yet another person has been arrested for burning a Quran, and it's really starting to look like British people are living under a de facto blasphemy law.
Now, a Christian street preacher was arrested in Rotherham town centre because he asked a Muslim about the Quran's teaching on domestic violence.
Fresh questions about free speech, policing and the limits of public preaching in Britain have arisen after a Christian pastor was arrested in Bristol city centre after publicly commenting on Islam and transgender ideology. Last November, 58-year-old Pastor Dia Moodley was detained by Avon and Somerset police on suspicion of inciting religious hatred under the Public Order Act
A horrific lynching captured on camera on a university campus. The victim is a star student, Mishal Khan, who describes himself as a humanist. The mob, though, think he's a blasphemer. His attackers are his classmates and even university employees.
This was Mishal Khan's room where he tried to hide from the mob. They found him here. They kicked him, they beat him, they hit him with sticks and they shot him.
They were happy. And they were beating him, they were happy.
The issue of blasphemy is long divided.
In Pakistan, Iran, Saudi Arabia, and half a dozen other paradise on earth countries, people are rotting in prison or hanging from the gallows for insulting Islam. Woman showing too much hair? Lashings.
Iran continues its crackdown against women. And in the latest, Iranian authorities have whipped a woman 74 times for violating public morals and fined her for not covering her head. The judiciary announced that the convicted Roya Heshmati encouraged permissiveness by appearing disgracefully in busy public places in Tehran. Of course, these are the charges. All women in Iran were required to cover their neck and heads since the 1979 Islamic Revolution. Whippings for breaching the dress code are uncommon in Iran. However, the practice revived during the anti-government protests that began in late 2022. Officials have installed surveillance cameras in public places to monitor the violations. They have also shut businesses that breached the rules. Iran's parliament has also discussed a bill that would toughen penalties for those breaching the dress code. Those protests were triggered by the September 2022 death of Mahsa Amini in the custody of the morality police, a 22-year-old Iranian who was arrested for allegedly breaching Iran's strict dress code for women. During the protests, female demonstrators cast off their headscarves or even burned them. They began to flout the dress code, leading to a crackdown. A Kurdish-focused rights group, Hangor, identified Heshmati as a 33-year-old woman of Kurdish origin. Her lawyer, Maziar Tatay, said that she was arrested in April last year for publishing a photo on social media without wearing a headscarf. Heshmati was also ordered to pay a fine of around $25 for not wearing the veil in public.
Christian refusing jizya? Second-class citizen? Or dead?
For example, open Bukhari, you will find a hadith that if you find a Jew or a Christian walking down the street, push them to the side. This is well known from what Umar ibn al-Khattab and the Khulafa ar-Rashidin used to implement, that the Jew and Christian was not allowed to ride on a horse when the Muslim is riding on the horse. They will have to walk. Allah, He said in the Quran about the jizya, that fight the people of the book. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, it's in the Quran, fight the people of the book and those who do not believe that what Allah has made lawful as lawful and what Allah has made unlawful as lawful until they pay the jizya and feel themselves subdued. The purpose of the jizya is to make the Jew and the Christian know that they are inferior and subjugated to Islam. Okay? In the Muslim state, although the Jew and Christian is free to practice their religion, this is allowed, but they cannot display their cross. And even in the time of Umar, they were not allowed to reconstruct or construct new churches. All of this is to create an atmosphere where it is encouraging the people to come to Iman and Islam.
If Jeff Bezos was living under Umar ibn Abdul Aziz or one of the Muslim rulers, Jeff Bezos, with all of his wealth, he would pay £250 in tax. The millionaire Muslim, how much is he going to pay in tax? Of his savings, 2.5%. Let's say he saved £100,000. How much tax is he going to pay? £2,500 he's going to pay. That's 10 times what the non-Muslim would pay if the non-Muslim was a millionaire. Jizya was the tax taken from Jewish people, Christians, etc. when Muslims were ruling them.
Jizya. Jizya is something that non-Muslims are supposed to give to Muslims, but it comes out of their pocket, not out of somewhere else. Don't be fooled by the sound of the word jizya. Along with that, I'm also going to explain the status of non-Muslims under Islamic rule. Now, when we talk about religious minorities in Islam, moderate Muslims usually tell you fables about how religious minorities were always protected and fully able to practice their religion freely. Only the protected part is true, and not fully. Religious freedom was never really there. In order to understand the jizya, first we have to understand the status of non-Muslims under Islamic rule, and that comes with learning about the word dhimmi.
Gay? Thrown off rooftops for sport? Allahu Akbar! Caught with a Bible?
Had long hours of interrogation for like 7-8 hours, blindfolded by 2 interrogators. They were constantly asking questions, and they were basically trying to put pressure on us to deny our faith in Jesus and convert back to Islam. And also they wanted us to give them information about...
Better start praying you die quick.
Well, imagine seeing your husband, brother, or father brutally killed by religious fanatics. That's what happened to many families when ISIS executed 21 Egyptian Christians in February. While the horrible video led to worldwide outrage, some families are happy that the martyrs kept their faith. And as Gary Lane found out, they're ready to forgive.
I was very proud that my husband stood firm in his faith and that he didn't deny Jesus.
That surprising reaction is happening 150 miles south of Cairo, in the village of El Aour. Residents there honor the sacrifice of 21 Egyptians brutally murdered last February by ISIS. Their pictures are prominently displayed in the sanctuary of Virgin Mary Church. 13 attended this church. The martyrs left behind family members, like 23-year-old Mariam Farhat. She became a widow when the militants beheaded her husband Malik Ibrahim in Libya. She first learned of his murder when she saw this now infamous video on local television.
We were very sad for the first 2 days, but we hadn't seen the video. When we saw them in the video calling to Jesus, we were very comforted.
And that's why Miriam and other families say they are now joyful, not sad. Babawi Al-Ham's brother Samuel was among those killed.
We were always praying that God would make them steadfast in their faith. We were very happy with what they said on the video, Jesus Christ, have mercy on us. When we found out they had been killed for being Christian, we were very comforted because these were God's children and He took them.
Although Samuel's wife and children now live without a husband and father, his family told CBN News their faith is stronger. They forgive the jihadists and even pray for ISIS.
I pray for them that God may open their heart and they may know the truth and know that what they do is wrong and then do the right thing. Jesus told us to forgive every sin, and we forgive them, and we hope that they can come to know Jesus.
Back in the United States, there's a growing movement among Christians there to demonstrate unity and solidarity with those who are suffering for Christ in the Middle East.
Miriam was encouraged after she viewed cell phone photos of Americans wearing orange.
May the Lord make their love grow and grow. We are very happy with their love. We don't deserve their love.
Mahoney says every 5 minutes around the world a Christian is killed for his faith.
People don't understand the kind of barbarism and brutality they are going through. And you know, when I visit persecuted Christians in the Middle East, there's one thing they always ask. It doesn't matter if it's Iraq, Syria, wherever it might be, it's this. Please remember us. It's to remind our brothers and sisters that we love them and we're standing with them, and to remind decision makers here in America and across the globe, the free nations of the world, we cannot be silent on this issue.
Miriam also has a message for others who have suffered or still face danger from ISIS.
Don't be sad or cry. God will support us all. He will fulfill His promise that He is the father of the orphans and the widows.
And the historical receipts? Brutal. From the 7th century, Islamic armies wiped out ancient Christian civilizations across the Middle East and North Africa like it was a weekend hobby. Churches became mosques. Millions reduced to dhimmi status, taxed, humiliated and told to feel subdued, Quran 9:29.
Fight those who do not believe in Allah in the last day, nor comply with what Allah and His Messenger have forbidden, nor embrace the religion of truth from among those who were given the scripture, 1, until they pay the tax, 2, willingly submitting, fully humbled.
Armenian genocide, 1.5 million Christians slaughtered. Copts in Egypt still getting attacked daily.
The answer in terms of sheer numbers and sheer horror might surprise you. It's Christians, specifically Christians living in Muslim-majority countries, countries where Christians often preceded Muslims by centuries. I'm not talking about war on Christmas type harassment. I'm talking about know your place or we're going to kill you persecution. Astonishingly, the Western mainstream media barely acknowledge what is happening. Let's look closer at this issue. It tells us a lot about the world we're living in. 100 years ago, 20% of North Africa and the Middle East, the birthplace of Christianity, was Christian. Today, Christians make up 4% of the population. Much of that decline has occurred in the last decade. In essence, Muslims are rendering North Africa and the Middle East free of Christians. Take Egypt, for example, my ancestral homeland. In just the past 2 years, tens of thousands of Christian Copts have left Egypt, and many others want to leave, but they simply cannot afford to. Why they want to leave is no mystery. On New Year's Day, 2011, the Two Saints Church in Alexandria was bombed, leaving 23 Copts dead and 97 injured. In recent years, dozens of Coptic churches have been attacked, many burned to the ground. In August 2013 alone, the Muslim Brotherhood and its supporters attacked and destroyed some 80 churches. Unfortunately, Egypt is more the rule than the exception. Hundreds of Nigerian churches have been destroyed in recent years, with especially deadly attacks reserved for Christmas and Easter church services, leaving dozens dead or mutilated. Churches have been bombed or burned in Iraq, Syria, and just about every place in the Middle East where churches still exist, except Israel. Christian businesses have been torched, Christian girls have been kidnapped, sold as child brides or slaves, and had acid thrown in their faces for not being veiled. Anyone born a Muslim who converts to Christianity faces jail and possibly execution. The list of fresh atrocities by Muslims against Christians grows longer almost every day. Even in Muslim countries often portrayed as moderate, Morocco, Indonesia, Malaysia, Kazakhstan, Uzbekistan, Christian minorities are under legal pressure not to build churches or evangelize. The Christians in these Muslim countries are often identical to their co-citizens in race, ethnicity, national identity, culture, and language. There is no political dispute between the Christians and Muslims, no land dispute. Vastly outnumbered and politically marginalized, these Christians simply wish to worship in peace. Instead, they are hounded and attacked. So then, why is this happening? And why is the media making so little mention of it? The first question is easy to answer. Christians are being persecuted in Muslim countries because they're Christians, or as the Quran puts it, infidels. That is, non-Muslims who are regarded by many fundamentalist Muslims as inferior. As a fundamentalist interpretation of the holy books of Islam has grown in the last 50 or so years, Christians have suffered, and in recent years they have suffered terribly. I document this in my book, Crucified Again, exposing Islam's new war on Christians. If this were happening to any other group besides Christians, it would be the human rights tragedy of our time. There would be loud worldwide calls for action. But the silence in the mainstream Western media is, as they say, almost deafening. Why? Because Muslim persecution of Christians throws a wrench in the media's narrative that Muslim violence is a product of Muslim grievance. That grievance is, first and foremost, portrayed as the sin of European colonialism and alleged American imperialism. In the Muslim world's mind, those two sins are personified by the Jewish state of Israel, a nation the Muslim world believes was forced upon it by the colonial powers of Europe following World War II and is currently supported by the United States. Much of the Western world and the Western media have largely bought at least some of this narrative. Here's how it works. Because Israel, with the backing of the United States, is stronger than its Muslim neighbors, the media, while not defending Islamic terrorism, often portray terror against Israel, America, and even Europe as the actions of understandably angry underdogs fighting for what they deem justice. But what happens to this media narrative when Islamic terror is directed against a minority weaker than them? In this case, the millions of indigenous Christians throughout the Islamic world. The answer is that, rather than abandon this narrative, the media just don't report Muslim persecution of Christians, except for the most sensational cases. That's why you probably don't know that there are barely any Christians living in Algeria, Tunisia, and Libya, nations where Christianity once thrived, or that this is happening in Egypt, Iraq, Iran, and even Lebanon. So yes, Christians are indeed the most persecuted religious group in the world today. But reporting it would violate the media's narrative of Christians as persecutors and Muslims as victims.
Nigerian Christians, thousands butchered every year while the world yawns.
Terrifying moments at a church in central Nigeria. A pastor and his worshippers are in the middle of prayer when all of a sudden, the sound of gunshots sends them running for cover. Seconds later, the gunmen are inside. Officials later say at least 2 people were killed and others were kidnapped. The attack adding more pressure on the Nigerian government, following threats of military intervention by President Trump over what he calls the persecution of Christians in one of Africa's richest countries. When asked if he'd consider strikes or even boots on the ground.
Could be. I mean, a lot of things I envisage, a lot of things. Killing the Christians and killing them in very large numbers. We're not going to allow that to happen.
Now, an unlikely supporter, rapper Nicki Minaj, who was born in Trinidad, speaking at the UN last night.
I would like to thank President Trump for prioritizing this issue and for his leadership on the global stage. In Nigeria, Christians are being targeted, driven from their homes, and killed.
But in Nigeria, a country that's 50% Muslim and just 48% Christian, violence is a complex and sweeping issue. Nigerian authorities tonight continue their search for more than 20 girls who were abducted in the middle of the night by armed men from their predominantly Muslim school. Among the dead is the deputy principal. His wife telling reporters he pleaded for his life, got up to pray, and she says that's when they pulled the trigger and killed him. The school is located in northwest Nigeria, a mostly Muslim region of the country that is grappling with an Islamist insurgency. Most notably in 2014, the Islamist group Boko Haram kidnapped 270 girls, while many escaped or were later released. Some have never returned.
We have been investigating these conflicts for over 15 years now. And I believe that reducing it to religion simplifies the whole situation. The country is overridden and by gunmen who are on rampage, and they kill people regardless of their faith.
The Nigerian president pushing back on claims his country is religiously intolerant, saying it's a democracy with constitutional guarantees of religious liberty.
Danielle Hamamdin joins us tonight from London. And Danielle, Pope Leo just this week and also referencing Nigeria as well.
That's right, Tom. In a post on X on Sunday, Pope Leo said Christians are suffering discrimination and persecution in various parts of the world, and among the countries he listed was Nigeria. We should also mention that those gunmen you saw earlier in the piece didn't only kidnap the worshippers from that church, but the pastor as well.
Over 380 million Christians live under high or extreme persecution right now, mostly thanks to Islamic governments and jihadi groups.
We are tired to be outside performing burial every day, and they expect us to silence. Now is an order. Nigerian government came out openly and denied there is no massacre, there is no genocide of Christians in Nigeria, and look at it today. Is there any Muslim here? United Nations, I know you're watching it. American Senate, you are watching what I'm doing, I'm saying here. Special advisor to Trump, now, please tell Trump to save our life in Nigeria. They are killing Christians in Nigeria, massacre Christians. If they say they kill Muslims, these Muslims are being killed. By who? By Muslims.
That's not phobia. That's facts with body counts. Yet these same professional victims scream Islamophobia the second you mention Muhammad married a 6-year-old and consummated at 9. Or that the Quran denies the crucifixion while every early historian confirms it happened. They can mock Jesus, trash the Bible, and rewrite Christianity all day long. But the moment you treat Islam with the same honesty, victim card deployed faster than taqiyya. We see you. You don't want dialogue. You want submission.
Christians in England could now potentially face up to 2 years in prison for handing out Bibles and praying for people. This shocking development comes from a proposed legal measure in Aldershot, Hampshire, where the local Labour-led council has attempted to identify Christian outreach as a public threat. A local Labour council in England known as the Rushmore Borough Council has sparked outrage after imposing an injunction that could imprison Christian street preachers for 2 years for causing offense and distress. This measure falls under a Public Spaces Protection Order, which is used to curb aggressive or antisocial behavior. In this case, the council attempted to expand its application towards street ministry. Under the proposed terms, Christians would be banned for praying for people without prior consent, handing out religious leaflets or Bibles by hand, and even laying hands on somebody during prayer, even with their consent. This means even if somebody voluntarily accepted prayer, the physical act of laying on hands during prayer would still be considered a crime. 2 Timothy 3:12 warned us, "Indeed, all those who desire to live a godly life in Christ Jesus will be persecuted." As the biblical end times are closer than ever before, persecution towards the church will continue to rise. Great Britain must return to Jesus Christ and reject secularism, or they will no longer have a nation again.
You don't want criticism. You want silence.
So you think that people that oppose Muhammad, and if they change from being a Muslim to a Christian, should they die today or not? Should they get killed?
If they spread fitna?
So let's be cordial here. Don't blow me up until the end of the conversation. At least let me get my words out.
And while you play the poor, oppressed minority in the West, Christians are still bleeding and dying under the very system you defend.
In Ukabu, they just murdered over 10 people. Innocent Christians. On Palm Sunday. Tinubu, where are you? As your people are slaughtered in the night, as you sit in Aso Rock and you do absolutely nothing, you allow your people to be killed again and again and again and again. When will it stop? When will you hear the cries of Nigerians, of Christians? You can no longer deny genocide. They're being slaughtered. And you say there's no issue. You will regret what you are doing.
This has been Lana on the Edge of Truth. Next time someone screams Islamophobia, just smile sweetly and ask, which part of your own book are you terrified we'll actually read? Stay sharp, folks. The real phobia isn't criticism. It's the sword hiding behind the tears.